Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Queue. In this video I'll be looking at the Tier 9 Premium Light Fighter, the Antonov M Masha, which you can buy with the money being passed to United24, the official fundraising platform of Ukraine. Hello there. The big news for World of Warplanes players in October 2023 is that Wargaming, and therefore World of Warplanes, have partnered with United24, the official fundraising platform of Ukraine, to provide bundles that you can buy, the revenue from which will be passed to that organisation and thereby directly benefit the Ukrainian people. The bundles that are available are as follows. We have a small bundle, which is an emblem based on Ukrainian symbology, a medium bundle, which is a decoration set for the Tier 9 Premium Light Fighter, the Antonov M Masha, and then the final bundle, the biggest of them all, includes that fighter. Now, I've reviewed the Antonov M Masha previously. This won't be a full review, but I thought I'd go over it and thereby encourage you to support the people of Ukraine. Here's the new livery on the Antonov M Masha, and I think the World of Warplanes art department has surpassed itself. This is gorgeous. Those of you who like historical camouflages only will be gritting your teeth, but after all, it's in a good cause. One thing to point out is that the emblem in this set gives you 2% crew experience. Those of you who already have the M Masha and the original livery will know that the emblem in that set gives you 20% crew experience. Right, I think it's time to take a brief look at the aircraft statistics. Here's the spreadsheet showing all of the Tier 9 fighters, and you can pause and study these figures at your leisure if you wish. I'm not blocking any of them, and you can see all of them. I don't need to scroll off the end. If you don't know how this spreadsheet works, there's a link in the description below to another video that will explain that to you. I'm not going to go through these figures exhaustively. This isn't a full review. I'm just going to pick out some highlights and make some comments. The first thing is that you might be very interested to see that the cumulative DPS is third best in class. Sounds like good news. However, these guns are tricky. And the reason being is the auto-aim angle, which is a miserly 2 degrees. You can be off target by only 2 degrees and the game will correct your aim for you. You're going to miss a lot with these. Also, the overheat time at 3 seconds is miserly as well. There are some aircraft with even worse, the ME-P1092, and others have got 3 seconds as well, as you can see the MiG-9 on its big cannon and the Ki-162 and the Yak-19. However, this is short enough to make these guns extremely tricky. The dispersion angle is okay at 0.6, but no more than that. That's the way that the shells spread out as they leave the muzzle of your gun. Shell velocity is a decent 1604 feet. It's not the highest in class. There are some spectacular figures here on the F6U Pirate, for instance. However, you shouldn't have too much trouble leading your fire at a banking aircraft. Survivability is okay. I will point out that the fire resistance is pretty high for a Soviet aircraft. Compare that with the Yak-19, and that gives you options in terms of mounting a first aid dressing package instead of a fire extinguisher, or perhaps using pilot skills for fire resistance and firefighting. Airspeed is a distinct disappointment. The rating is 69. That's actually the worst in class rating, as we can see if we just scroll down here. Just show you that again. The cruise speed is okay, actually. It's the best in class at 311. The boost maximum speed is actually, I think, second or third worst in class. There's a lot of aircraft that have 559, so it's not actually really as bad news as it might seem. It's just that it's not that fast and it's not a high energy fighter on the basis of speed. And in a moment, we'll see that it's not a high energy fighter on the basis of altitude performance either. Boost duration is 8 seconds, which is second best in class here, but actually these figures are compressed. It's right in the middle. The standout here is the Pirate with 16, which has got multi-role fighter type boost performance because it used to be attached to a multi-role line. Maneuverability, it's pretty good. It's not going to compete with a Yak-19 or a Ki-1621, but pretty much everything else, including the LA-160, it should be competitive with or even better than. Turn time is second best in class. Controllability is pretty decent. You're not going to notice the aircraft sliding instead of responding to an instruction when through the control surfaces to change direction, which is not the case, for instance, with something like the MiG-9, which does tend to exhibit that sliding behaviour. Maneuverability is a plus point on this aircraft. Altitude performance, however, is not. This is distinctly turn fighter altitude performance. You're going to be fighting at low to mid altitudes, and as you can see, some of the high energy fighters have got vastly superior performance. What is interesting is that the thrust to weight ratio is really good, 0.625, and this implies that the aircraft may accelerate quickly. The problem is we don't know if drag is implemented in the game. I, for one, believe that it probably is, and I can't say that I've really noticed the Masha accelerating decently. However, on the basis that you believe this figure, then I would suggest that probably you'd want to mount a high-speed gas turbine and try and improve this boost maximum speed and stay with fleeing heavies for at least a short distance. The alternative would be to mount an uprated engine, which you probably have leeway to do because the fire resistance is 50. We just drop down and have a look at the red here. We can see some of these figures, unsurprisingly some of the survivability figures because they're all compressed. We can see that airspeed rating is the worst in class, and there's nothing that's actually else that's really much of a bother, other than we'll just point out that the roll rate isn't particularly good either. These figures suggest very strongly to me that what we have on our hands here is a low to mid altitude turn fighter, and that's how I build the aircraft. However, as you'll see in a moment, you've got plenty of equipment slots to play with, and you can mix and match a little bit and be quite flexible. Here we are back with the Masha on the tarmac outside the hangar. My aircraft is specialised. That means I have all of the equipment and consumable slots available. When you first get this aircraft, you will find the following. You are lacking 1 out of 5 equipment slots. This one's on the airframe. And you are lacking 1 out of 5 consumable slots, and that one is on the engine. If we pop this back into specialist configuration, we'll see what I've done with the aircraft. I mentioned in the previous section of the video that I consider this to be a high manoeuvrability fighter, and therefore I've built it that way. The guns don't handle very well, so you want to do everything you can to improve their accuracy and handling, and I've put on an experimental gun sight here. The manoeuvrability component of this build is given by the lightweight wing frame and the lightweight power unit. I've decided that I'm going to improve the boost speed and try and chase after things that are fleeing. Therefore, I've got the high-speed gas turbine. The alternative here, I think, would be the uprated engine. The cruise speed is very good, and that means that you're going to keep the aircraft generally fast. Here is a choice I wouldn't necessarily make, but I've put a reinforced skin on, not calibrated, because it doesn't have an impact on manoeuvrability. If you are interested in speed, which is implied by the choice of the high-speed gas turbine here, then you would probably put on a polished skin, and if you do that, let's select one off, not an experimental one, you can see that this figure will change from 82, if you were paying attention previously, down to 79, and that's the impact of polished skin. This now is probably the build that I would choose, but if you are trying to maximize maneuverability, then you may go for that reinforced skin. As far as consumables concerned, fairly standard set. The fire resistance figure is good enough for me to put on a first aid dressing package. Pneumatic control assist to improve manoeuvrability in a tight spot, possibly fighting another Masha. Engine cooling to improve the boost by 10 seconds if you've got any boost at all. And an engine restart bottle, and then universal ammunition. If you're going to fire gold, you already know all about it. I'm not going to recommend it to you. And that brings us on to the question of pilot skills. We'll just reset this because I don't want to spend those tokens. And of course, it's a crew trainer, so you can train your Soviet pilots. And I've got a highly trained Yak 30 pilot. This is the type of pilot that you put into this plane. And skills here will include aerodynamics expert, aerobatics expert, and then you'll probably be working on Engine Guru 1 and particularly Marksman 1 to help with the guns. Probably the other way around, Marksman 1 then Engine Guru 1. Work through something like either cruise flight or more likely battle tested. Drop it when you have 3 points available by dropping that and go up to Marksman 2, possibly Engine Guru 2, or alternatively, not resilience as I've put on here, although I really like that skill. Nowadays I would probably go for evasive target, but that's a long way in the future. Okay, let's go and talk about the aircraft's performance in battle, but before we do that, I'll just quickly show you the effects of my choices on the base characteristics of the aircraft. Here we have the spreadsheet showing the effects of build choices on the base figures of the aircraft. I will not go through these in detail. I recommend that you pause and study these figures for yourself. I will scroll down a little bit later so you can see the items that are in text, and you can pause those and have a good look at them as well. The base figures we've seen before, and they were expressed in the aircraft statistics section, and they're in columns C and D. The first build is in columns E and F, and the effects of those choices are shown in columns G in absolute terms, positive effect in green, negative effect in red, and the same differences are expressed in percentage terms in column H. The first build is an experimental gun sight, uncalibrated, as is the reinforced skin. Then we have a lightweight wing frame, lightweight power unit, and a high-speed gas turbine. Those are all fully calibrated. We've improved the accuracy of the guns, both the dispersion angle and the auto-aim angle, which is welcome because those guns are tricky. It's not a massive improvement, however. Survivability, we've lost some hit points. We've gained a little bit of damage resistance, and the rating is unchanged. Airspeed has gone up by 4 points to 73. We have actually lost a little bit of cruise speed. It's just 2 miles an hour. However, we've got a healthy improvement on the maximum boost speed of 29 miles an hour, up to 588. We have lost 1.2 seconds, 15% of our boost. However, that's down to 6.8. The big gain here, as you would expect, since this build is aimed at maneuverability, is a rating increase from 71 base to 89. And you can see the effects there. Also down below, there's an effect on your maneuverability. From memory, it's 20.2%. You'll see that when I scroll down a little bit later. We've also got a slight increase in the altitude performance, 1 rating point because of the improvement in the climb rate. We move on to column I and J. With the differences expressed in columns K and L. This time we've substituted a polished skin for the reinforced skin, and again the polished skin is uncalibrated. Guns will be exactly the same, so an improvement in accuracy there. We've still got the same rating on survivability, but we've lost a little bit of damage resistance compared to the previous build, and we've still lost the hit points, of course. Got a much better improvement from 69 to 77 for airspeed, and that's because the cruise speed has gone up to 347 and the maximum boost speed has gone up to 605. That's 46 miles an hour. This is the way I like to go. This is probably the build I would tend to pick. We still lost the same amount of boost, however. The maneuverability isn't quite as good as the previous build because the polished skin has an adverse effect on maneuverability. The reinforced skin doesn't. However, it's still gone up to 86 from the base of 71. And then finally, we've also got an altitude performance improvement. Again, the 1 rating point, but this time we've gone up to 587 feet per second. We didn't talk a lot about the build, this build in the previous section in columns M and N, with differences expressed in columns O and P. And this time we've gone back to the reinforced skin, uncalibrated, but substituted in an uncalibrated uprated engine for the high-speed gas turbine. Again, the guns are the same, improvements in accuracy. This time we have lost a point on the rating for survivability, and that's because we have lost some fire resistance, either 11 or 12, depending on which calculation you use a point. And that's getting into slightly tricky territory. We have got an improvement in the airspeed up to 70, but it's only 1 rating point. And the cruise speed has gone up to 329, and the boost maximum speed has actually lost 12 miles an hour. It's gone down to 547. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to use an uprated engine because you want to try and improve the cruise speed, you should also pick a polished skin and drop the reinforced skin. And in that case, you can probably expect around about 370 and more miles an hour for the cruise speed. If you calibrate the various pieces of equipment, it will be more. You will be able to get the boost maximum speed up to, in an uncalibrated state for those 2 pieces of equipment, around about 560, 565 miles an hour. So it's not as good as the first build noticed, but then again, with calibration, you will be able to bring that up and above the 565 to somewhere around the first build. This is not the way I would approach it. I don't like the effect on the fire resistance, although I would say it's probably manageable, and I wouldn't discourage you from going from this build if that's the way that you want to go. You do, of course, get your full boost of 8 seconds. With this build, with reinforced skin, you will get the same maneuverability as the first build that I showed you. With the polished skin, you'll get the same maneuverability as the second build. And then we actually have a slightly adverse effect on the climb rate, which is a slight surprise to me. We've gone down by 4 feet per second. I think that possibly changed with the polished skin. In fact, I can just check that right now. It looks off to the side. And yes, it would be 544 feet or more if you put the polished skin on instead. Okay, let's scroll downwards and bring all the text items into view. And you can pause here and look at those. There are some differences. It may look as if they're identical, but the survivability build effects for the second build are actually quite different to the other 2 builds. So have a close look at those. I have a standard pilot in with fire resistance, aerobatics expert, aerodynamics expert, engine guru 1, marksman 1, and resilience. I wouldn't use resilience these days. If I was building a pilot specifically for a turn fighter, I'd probably use evasive target. Okay, I think it's time to go and see how this plane performed in battle. Here I've entered straight into the battle. I've just paused it very briefly so you can see that it's the Northern Bridgehead map, the Atonement variant, and this has 5 sectors laid out in the normal 5 spots of a die configuration. The central repair base is important. There are 2 command centers on one axis. On the other axis, a couple of make-weight garrisons. If we look at the order of battle, even though I am a tier 9 in a tier 10 battle, I've spotted instantly that they don't have the sort of aircraft that can dominate the middle. And in fact, we've got 2, but we've also got an MEP 1101. So my plan of action here was to go for the command center and then go and work around the airfield as much as possible and just see how the battle developed, with the tier 10 slugging it out. So let's get that battle moving again. And here we go to the command center in my Masha with its special livery. Have another check just to make sure I've assessed the situation correctly and haven't missed anything. And now we're sizing up the air defense aircraft. And that was close. So on to the first air defense aircraft, and with this manoeuvrability build, no problem staying on the tails of even the Spitfires. Now, what is a slight problem is it's going very slowly, but I do eventually size it up and kill it. Go looking for the next one. And that's my familiar move, just to throw AA off, if you're wondering. I don't do it because I'm doing a victory roll. Down goes the second aircraft. I have a look at the heavy, which appears to be pursuing the bomber. There are no other air defense aircraft to go for at the moment. The Javelin disappears. I was going to then head towards the airfield and help there, but in fact we've taken that anyway. And as I begin to leave this sector, I spot that an air defense aircraft regenerates. So we go back and try and deal with that. Something else shoots it down. Looking for another one. Anything. And something knocks over a ground target probably, so now we can go to the airfield and start doing some work there. So far so good. A couple of air defense aircraft, not a spectacular start to the game, but a solid one. My team has managed to take 3 sectors out of 3 that have been captured so far. Now I lost quite a lot of health in that attack, so I'm taking advantage of the repair base straight away. The maintenance shed, and we go looking for targets. Don't really do a lot to the FJ1 as he flies overhead, but then we get on his tail and eliminate him. Keeping a wary eye out. Feel safe in going for this F-84B. Pulsing the guns, as you can see, trying not to overheat them. Like that. Now we have an F-7U. These can be quite tricky to hit actually. I'm not quite sure whether the hitbox is misplaced on these. It is easy to miss them, I know that. Just as easy to miss these as it is, say, the BVP 210 and 212. Get assistance for killing that. Not too many people doing the same thing really. Turn with the multi-roll, which is another F-7U. With an engine out so I can easily hunt it down. And that one I do kill. And I am carrying out my battle plan exactly as I would have liked to. My team is on top, the enemy is flying in at regular intervals. I'm able to do damage to them or shoot them down. And this is virtually ideal territory for a manoeuvrability build on a Masha, especially as I haven't got opposition such as, for instance, a Yak-19 to worry about. Still can't fly head-on into an F-7U's guns, however, so I'll take avoidance action. Fairly short bursts, trying to knock the plane down. Knock out its engine. Now a wing, which makes it less wiggly. I should be able to get it now. There we go. And all the time I was pulsing the guns to try and prevent the guns overheating. Now, I could, I suppose, have gone to the command centre there, and perhaps I would have picked up a few more capture points. But My plan was actually not to bother taking that sector because to prolong the game a bit. I could see that we were getting on top very quickly indeed. Good long burst into the F7U there, set it on fire, quickly flip around to see what the other multi-role is. Fortunately for me, it's the F-84B firing at another aircraft, which means I'm able to turn onto its tail. Dispose of that as well. Briefly consider going for the bomber and I think better of it, the one above me as opposed to the one that just got destroyed in the background there. At the moment, got no targets. And I decided not to go and help defend the command centre because basically I don't actually mind if they take it at the moment because we've got a good healthy lead. So there's an element of farming going on here. And my engine gets damaged. Fortunately I'm carrying a restart bottle. Now we have got one of the Wigglies. BBP. Got to aim at the cockpit if you can here. Anticipate where the cockpit's going to be. It's a small hitbox on those aircraft. And that Tier 9 BBP goes down. And for what seems like the umpteenth time, I'm now shooting at the F-84B. It's got to be at least the third time, if not the fourth. Try to get on my tail. Turn. Flies away. It's the FJ1. Then it climbs and goes up. Slows itself down conveniently so I can actually shoot it. Now, we've taken quite a bit of damage. I haven't been paying attention, so now we're going to head towards the maintenance shed and try and get repairs. And the enemy has taken that command centre, so it's a more balanced game again, but we've got a really big lead. So no worries there. Got full repairs. See the ground attacker coming in. Lots of hit points for me to devour. Definitely pulse the guns here. You can see that I'm shooting in about 2 to 3 second bursts. I'm not overheating the guns. Fly away from it in case it drops a bomb. And I have a major contribution there. And back to more of the aircraft that are coming in. The F-84B again. I promise you there was only one of them. Do overheat the guns this time. We're getting a bit impatient. I wanted to kill it before it had a chance of destroying a target, because that would flip the sector to the enemy. Now, it wouldn't actually matter. It's just basically I want to try and hang on to the airfield because it's convenient to me getting repairs all the time. But finally we do lose the airfield. We're still 3-2 up, so we're not going to suddenly collapse from this position, probably. FJ1. May just have heard Dilly crying in the background. Kill the FJ1. W252 has a go at me. I think about chasing it, and I think better of it. Go for the 212 again. Down that goes. Beginning the progress on taking this sector. Disengage from the heavy and then re-engage when I've checked that it's alright to continue. Realise it's a bit too far away from me. Go to try and find another aircraft to shoot. And in fact, everything seems to be just a little bit too far away from me at the moment. In comes that Spitfire. Try and turn on it, but the game is over. And a quick fire, 17,500 points, a couple of nice medals, and a decent game at Tier 10 in the Tier 9 Masha. Let's take a look at the outcome of the battle, and I'm going to make 2 points straight away. First, this was the first win of the day at ×3, so the figures are inflated. Secondly, the earnings potential of a Tier 9 premium aircraft, and there are two of them, this one, the Masha, and the XF-85, or the Goblin, is not as great as you might think compared to Tier 8s. Now, there is a reason for that I've calculated out. It would be dry and dusty to go through it. Just trust me that if you're seeking to buy the Masha because you think you're going to earn a lot of credits with it compared to your Tier 8 premiums, that will not be so. That said, let's step through the result, and we can see it's a 4 chevron battle, a grade 2 fighter, grossing 372,709 credits, of which about 125,000 came from the premium account bonus. We can see there were no expenses if we go into the message box. The aircraft wasn't shot down, so there were no repair costs. I'd bought my consumables that I was using in advance, half price in a sale. Aircraft experience was 14,533. The base there is 3,795. Premium account bonus, very nearly 2,000. And then other bonuses, that first was the win of the day, etc., coming in to provide another 8,841. For experience, 726. The base there, 631, again, times 3. Premium account bonus of 94, making that total. And a couple of tokens as well for first medals of the day, the Akamatsu and the Winged Legend. Going to the personal score tab, we can see that one of the class-specific missions was complete for destroying aircraft when defending, 15 in aerial targets, that's 4/5 complete. And actually, had we just been able to get out to another sector and get a few capture points, we would have probably got 4 segments instead of 3 here, and that would have made this a 5 chevron battle. Personal points, 17,595, 2 sectors captured, 15 aerial targets destroyed, 8,621 damage to those targets, and 26 critical hits coming off the cannons. Didn't lose the aircraft, and 560 capture points. Unsurprisingly, most of these were for defending, 360, and attacking was 200. Team score tab, we can see that was enough for first place, both by personal points and chevrons on my team, equal chevrons on the enemy team, some good consistent efforts from the other players on this team, and reasonably consistent efforts from the enemy team as well. But of course, there was a central airfield, and we had 2 aircraft which could dominate it. I've enjoyed revisiting the Antonov M Masha, but we've come to the end of the video, and I think I've shown you that it's a capable turn fighter, albeit with tricky guns that are going to frustrate you from time to time. In Tier 10 bomber-spammed EU server battles, it's going to feel irrelevant, so many aircraft do, but otherwise there's plenty of enjoyable flying to be had in this pleasant plane. The real story is that the World of Warplanes team have made this aircraft available at an advantageous price. It's not likely to be offered as cheaply again, and that the revenue, even better, will be sent to United 24 and thence to the Ukrainian people, and that's terrific news. Well, I hope you found this helpful, and that if you did, you'll come and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q, signing off.